There is a piece of advice floating around the internet that you have probably heard 1,000 times. It usually comes from a man in a tailored suit, standing on a stage, aggressively pointing at a camera. He tells you that the reason you are broke is because you buy a $5 coffee every morning. He tells you that if you just made your coffee at home, you would somehow magically become a millionaire. When you hear this, you probably roll your eyes. You probably feel a flash of anger. And you should. It is a condescending, deeply out-of-touch piece of advice. It implies that your financial struggles are simply a matter of weak willpower, completely ignoring the reality of record-high inflation, stagnant wages, and a housing market that has locked an entire generation out of ownership. It feels insulting to be told that a cup of bean water is the barrier between you and financial freedom. So, you swipe past the video, you buy the $5 coffee to cope with the stress of your commute, and you accept the reality of the modern rat race. But today, we are going to strip away the arrogance of the internet gurus. We are going to ignore the unrealistic math of becoming a billionaire from pocket change. We are going to conduct a psychological autopsy on a single $5 bill. Because while the gurus are wrong about the math, they are accidentally right about the psychology. We are going to walk through exactly what actually happens to your brain, your identity, and your life when you quietly intercept $5 a day for 5 years. To understand why this matters, you first have to understand the environment you live in. You do not live in a normal economy. You live in a highly weaponized, algorithmic extraction machine. Every single application on your phone, every store layout, every targeted advertisement, and every subscription model is engineered by some of the smartest psychologists on Earth with one singular goal: to remove capital from your possession with zero friction. They do not want your life savings all at once. That would trigger your survival instincts. They want your money in increments so small that your brain does not register the loss. $5 for a premium app subscription. $4.99 for a delivery fee. $6 for a digital rental. $5 for a specialty drink. It is death by 1,000 paper cuts. It is a financial anesthetic. When you decide to save $5 a day, you are not just making a financial choice. You are stepping out of the anesthetic. You are choosing to feel the cut. Let us look at month 1. Day 1 is easy. You feel motivated. You skip the coffee shop, or you cancel that obscure streaming service you never watch, or you pack a sad-looking sandwich for lunch instead of going to the deli downstairs. You transfer $5 into a savings account. But by day 14, the motivation evaporates. It is a Tuesday morning. It is raining. You are exhausted from a job that underpays you. You are sitting in traffic. You want that small, warm, caffeinated hit of dopamine. Your brain starts negotiating with you. Your ego will step in and say, I am a 30-year-old adult. I work 45 hours a week. I should not have to stress over $5. This is pathetic. $5 is not going to change my life. This is the most critical moment of the entire 5-year journey. Your ego is telling the truth. The $5 will not change your life today. But the friction you are feeling right now is the exact feeling of your consumer conditioning breaking down. When you say no to that impulse, when you manually move that $5 into a separate account, despite feeling exhausted and frustrated, it hurts. But that pain is the sensation of you taking the steering wheel back from the extraction machine. You survive the first 30 days. You have saved $150. Mathematically, it is nothing. It barely covers half a grocery run. But psychologically, a tiny, almost imperceptible shift has occurred. You have proven to yourself that a micro-impulse can be denied. Let us fast forward to month 6. You have been quietly intercepting this $5 every single day. You have transferred roughly $900 into a brokerage account. You bought a low-cost index fund. At this point, the daily transfer is no longer painful. It is an automated habit. You don't even miss the money, but something else is happening. The $5 habit has acted like a software update for your visual cortex. Because you trained your brain to identify and intercept small, unnecessary leaks of capital, you suddenly start seeing the extraction matrix everywhere you look. You are at a restaurant with friends, and you notice the menu is carefully designed without dollar signs to trick your brain into spending more. You see the layout of the grocery store, pushing high-margin, useless items into your eye line. You notice how every single company is desperately trying to trap you in a monthly subscription loop. You realize that the entire modern world is a giant neon casino, and everyone around you is just blindly pulling the lever. You start to feel a quiet sense of rebellion. You look at that $900 in your account. It is not life-changing wealth, but it is a shield. For the first time in years, your bank account is not hovering at zero before payday. If you get a flat tire tomorrow, you don't have to put it on a credit card at 24% interest. You just pay for it. You have bought your first tiny piece of psychological armor. Now we arrive at year 2. You have saved roughly $3,600. But because you put it in an index fund, and the market has done what the market historically does, the balance is sitting closer to $4,200. At year 2, a massive identity shift occurs. Up until this point, your identity was tied to your capacity to consume. When you felt sad, you bought something. When you felt successful, you bought something. Your dopamine system was entirely dependent on swiping a piece of plastic and receiving a product. But watching that $4,000 grow quietly in the dark rewires your reward center. You no longer get a rush from buying a status symbol you don't need. You get a rush from keeping your capital. You get dopamine from logging into your brokerage account and seeing a dividend hit your balance. You get dopamine from knowing that a tiny fraction of the global economy is now working for you, instead of you working for it. You have transitioned from a consumer to a capital allocator. This is where your friends and coworkers will start to notice a change in your demeanor. They won't know exactly what is different about you. They will just notice that you are incredibly calm. When the office panics about rumors of layoffs, your chest doesn't tighten. When your friends complain about being broke a week before payday, you listen quietly, but you cannot relate to the panic anymore. You have detached from the collective financial anxiety of the middle class. Let us move to year 4. Your account balance crosses the $8,000 mark, edging toward $9,000 with compound interest. You have been saving $5 a day for 1,460 days. This is the phase I call the halo effect. The gurus who told you to stop buying coffee thought that the $5 itself was the prize. They are fools. The secret that nobody talks about is that a human being who has the discipline to save $5 a day for 4 years never stops at $5. Discipline is not a limited resource, it is a muscle, and your muscle is now incredibly strong. Because you conquered the microtransactions, you naturally begin to apply that exact same ruthless efficiency to the macro transactions in your life. You look at your $600 car payment, the car you bought to impress people who don't care about you. The old you would have justified it. The new you, the Capital Allocator, views it as a massive bleeding wound. You sell the car. You buy a 10-year-old, reliable beater in cash. Suddenly, you are not just saving $5 a day. You are saving $25 a day. You look at your expensive downtown apartment. You realize you are paying an $800 premium just to live near trendy bars that you don't even go to anymore because you stopped participating in the aesthetic rat race. You break the lease. You move to a quiet, boring neighborhood. Now you are saving $50 a day. The $5 habit was never about the $5. It was the training wheels for financial ego death. It was the gateway drug to stealth wealth. Finally, we reach the end of year 5. 1,825 days have passed. If we look strictly at the original $5 a day, your account sits at roughly $11,000 to $12,000, depending on the market. To a Wall Street banker, $12,000 is a rounding error. But to a normal person living in the real world, $12,000 of liquid, accessible capital is the threshold of absolute freedom. It is FU money on a micro scale. $12,000 means you can walk away from a toxic boss tomorrow and survive for 6 months without breaking a sweat while you find a better job. $12,000 means if a medical emergency happens, it is a physical tragedy, not a financial apocalypse. $12,000 means you can sleep through the night without staring at the ceiling, wondering how you are going to survive the next 2 weeks. But remember the halo effect. because you sold the car, because you moved, because you rewired your identity, your actual balance is not $12,000. It is $40,000 or $50,000. You wake up on a Tuesday morning. It is exactly 5 years from the day you felt that miserable, pathetic friction of skipping your first coffee. You look in the mirror. You are wearing a plain, unbranded t-shirt. You drive a dusty, invisible car. You live a quiet, unimpressive life. But behind your eyes, there is a profound, unshakable peace. You are no longer a hostage to the extraction economy. You are no longer performing for a phantom audience on the internet. You are a ghost. You move through the world entirely undetected, hoarding your capital in the shadows, buying back the only thing that actually matters: your time. If you are listening to this right now, and you feel like you are drowning, if your account is at zero, and the mountain of debt feels too high to climb, and the idea of becoming wealthy feels like a cruel joke, do not try to climb the mountain today. Do not try to solve the entire puzzle. Just look at a $5 bill. Look at it not as a piece of paper, but as a test of who is in control of your mind. Intercept it, hide it in the dark, protect it, and then wake up tomorrow and do it again. I'm Henry. Welcome to the boring path.